Hello dear students, now we are going to discuss parenteral products from Unit 4 Industrial Pharmacy 1. Contains definition, what are parenteral products, types of parenteral products, advantages and limitations, pre-formulation factors and essential requirements, vehicles, additives, importance of isotonicity. Parenterals are preparations which are administered by injection through one or more layers of skin tissue. The word parenteral is derived from the Greek word para and enteron, meaning outside of intestine, and is used for dosage forms administered by routes other than the oral route. So these are the preparations which are administered by injection, the special device through one or more layers of skin tissue. And based on these layers, there are different routes of administration of parenteral products. In general, the parenteral routes are used when rapid drug action is desired, as in emergencies, when the patient is uncooperative, unconscious, or unable to accept or tolerate oral medication, or when the drug itself is ineffective by other routes. So at these times, the parenteral routes are preferred. With the exception of insulin injections, which are commonly self-administered by diabetic patients, most injections are administered by the physician, physician's assistant, or nurse in the course of medical treatment. Thus, the injections are employed mostly in the hospital, extended care facility, and clinic, and less frequently at home. Official types of injection. According to the USP, United States Pharmacopoeia, injectable materials are separated into 5 general types. These may contain buffers, preservatives, and other added substances. So, injectable materials or parenteral formulations, these contain buffer as there is need to maintain the isotonicity, as these are directly administering into the various tissue fluids, body fluids, or cavities. There is need of preservative as these are directly administered into the blood or body fluid. There is need to inhibit the microbial growth, or it should be free from the microbial growth. So for this, preservatives are added, and also other substances are added such as vehicle, antioxidants, bulking agents based on the type of preparation. Injections are liquid preparations that are drug substances or solutions thereof. So example is insulin injection, which is also officially in United States Pharmacopoeia. So in this, the drug substances are directly put into the solvent. For injection, so here dry solids that upon addition of suitable vehicles yields solutions conforming in all respects to the requirements for injection. So here mainly the antibiotics which are susceptible to moisture, so they are formulated as the dry powders or dry solids by lyophilization or spray drying, whatever the suitable method, and they are filled into the container in the dry powder form, and they are reconstituted for injection at the time of administration. Hence they are named as cefuroxime for injection, where cefuroxime is the active ingredient which is available in the dry powder form along with the water for injection. So the physician at the time of injection mix the dry powder and water for injection and prepare a injection for administration to the patient. Injectable emulsion, so liquid preparation of drug substance dissolve or disperse in a suitable emulsion medium. Example, propofol or most of the oil soluble vitamins, they are available in the form of injectable emulsion. So this is the third official type of injectable preparation. The fourth type is injectable suspension. Here liquid preparation of solid suspended in a suitable liquid medium. Example is methylprednisolone acetate suspension, officially in United States Pharmacopoeia. So when the drug substance is not soluble in the liquid or vehicle, at that time it is formulated in the form of suspension with the help of suitable suspending agents. For injectable suspension, here again dry solid that upon addition of suitable vehicle yields preparation conforming in all respects to the requirements of the injectable suspension. Examples of the drugs which are formulated as for injectable suspension are imipenem and cilastatin for injectable suspension USP. So these dry powders when put into the liquid or vehicle at the time of administration, it converts into the reconstituted suspension. Routes of administration. Parenteral preparations are administered by parenteral routes for following four principal reasons. The first reason is for therapy, whether it is definitive or palliative treatment, for prevention, for diagnosis, and for temporarily altering tissue functions in order to facilitate other forms of therapy. So for therapy means in general for its therapeutic effect, let's say antibiotic injection or some painkiller injection like that. For prevention, here comes the vaccine preparations which are administered for the prevention of particular disease. Then for diagnosis, so some tuberculin like antigen is so some injectables are administered for the diagnostic purpose, and here some of the anesthetics like local anesthetic or general anesthetics, these are administered through parenteral route to alter the tissue function to provide the anesthesia to that particular tissue or organ. So these are the various purposes or reasons behind administration of the parenteral preparation. Common routes of parenteral drug administration are when the injectable is administered into the muscle, then it is called as intramuscular. Then in subcutaneous tissue called subcutaneous route of administration. Then in vein, then it is called intravenous, and intradermal when it is administered. In this area which is in between epidermis and dermis. Primary or main parenteral routes. So intramuscular route, site of injection is gluteal muscle in buttock or deltoid muscle in shoulder and vastus parenterals of thigh. So these are the different sites where intramuscular injection is administered. Volume administered is maximum 2 ml when it is administered through deltoid muscle, and rapid absorption is there. When it is administered through gluteal muscle, then it is 5 ml, and large volumes can also be tolerated. Which type of formulations are administered intramuscularly? Either aqueous or oily solutions or suspensions can be administered through intramuscular route. Drugs commonly injected are lidocaine, cephalosporins, aminoglycosides, diazepam, insoluble salts of penicillin G, corticosteroids, narcotic antagonist, and contraceptive steroids. These are administered through intramuscular route. Needle specification for the specific route is 1.3 inches, and the gauge will be 19 to 22. Absorption can be delayed or prolonged by administering the drug as liquid preparation using waxes or oils as vehicle. Intravenous route of administration. The site of action is superficial vein, commonly on back of hand or in the flexor of elbow or superior longitudinal sinus. Volume administered is large or small volume of children for rapid effect. Solutions of irritating drugs can be given by this route because of their rapid dilution with blood or IV. Large or small volume can be administered for rapid effect through intravenous injection. In small volume parenterals as well as large volume parenterals can be administered. Solutions of irritating drugs can be given by this route because of their rapid dilution with blood, or IV can be used as a diluents. So irritating drugs can be administered through intravenous routes as there is rapid dilution with the blood. Solution drugs, oily substances, drug in the form of solution, and then oily substances, suspension, acid or alkaline salts which are incompatible with the blood should not administered by intravenous route. IV fat emulsion, needle specification is 20 to 22 gauge, 1 or 2 inches long. Intravenous infusion are administered using needle or catheters are inserted into the subclavian vein. Indwelling catheters contains heparin to avoid clotting and venous thrombosis. Third route of administration is subcutaneous. It is administered in abdomen, upper back, lateral upper hips. Site loose connective and adipose tissue beneath the skin into outer surface of arm or thigh. More rapid absorption than intradermal. Volume does not exceed 1 ml, so it should be administered in the range of 0.5 to 1.5 ml. Needle requires is 24 to 26 number, and 1/4 or 5/8 inch long. Drugs like insulin can be administered through self-medication, vaccines, narcotics, epinephrine, and the vitamin B12 it is administered through subcutaneous route. Intradermal route of administration. Site is superficial layer of skin just beneath the epidermis, using usually at the anterior foreman. Volume administered is 0.1 ml. Needle size is 3/8 inches, and 23 to 26 gauge needle is required. Various agents for diagnostic determination, then desensitization or immunization. Some limited number of vaccines are administered through intradermal route like smallpox, antigens, tuberculin. Absorption by this route is very low, that is slow onset of action. Intradermal route of administration. Site is superficial layer of skin just beneath the epidermis, usually at the anterior foreman. Volume administered is 0.1 ml. Needle size is 3/8 inch or 23 to 26 gauge. Various agents for diagnostic determination or desensitization or immunization are administered through intradermal route. So some of the vaccines such as smallpox, antigens, tuberculin are administered by this route. Absorption by this route is very low, that is slow onset of drug action. So these are all the primary route of parenteral administration, that is intramuscular, intravenous, subcutaneous, and intradermal. Now discuss the secondary parenteral routes. Hypodermoclysis, it is a form of subcutaneous injections that permits slow administration of large amounts of fluids as isotonic saline or glucose solution when IV sites are not available, intravenous sites are not available. This is rarely used today, but in the recent past, it was commonly used in infants and young children to counteract dehydration, the hypodermoclysis. Interior or lateral position of thigh. In infants, base site is subcutaneous tissue at the base of the either scapula. An enzyme hyaluronidase may be added to enhance the absorption in the formulation. Fluid injected are lactated zinger, dextrose 2.5% in 0.45% saline. Normal saline for maintaining or restoration of fluid and electrolyte balance is administered by hypodermoclysis. Intra-arterial injection. Injection or infusion into an artery which leads directly to target organ. Used for diagnostic purpose like injecting radioopic substances for röntgenography studies of vascular supply of various organs or tissues such as coronary, pulmonary, renal, enteric or peripheral arteries. So this is administered for diagnostic purpose or directly to target the organ. Use of intra-arterial route for treatment purpose is infrequent and limited generally to organ-specific chemotherapy such as treating certain localized cancers such as malignant melanomas of lower extremities, where high concentration of toxic drugs may be perfused through the artery for regional perfusion in the limbs, where intravenous administration may cause serious systemic reaction. Suitable sized smooth bore stainless steel needle or short flexible plastic catheter can be used for intra-arterial administration. Intra-articular administration, this site is synovial sites of various accessible joints. Needle is required is 17 to 22 gauge. Site of action is knee, ankle, wrist, elbow, shoulder, phalangeal, sternoclavicular, acromyoclavicular joints, hip joints, and is entered with difficulty. Drugs which are administered are antibiotics, lidocaine, some steroids, esters. So these are administered into body ligands for the treatment of infection, pain, inflammation, or other problems reaching from inflammation diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis or trauma. Intracardiac, so site is directly into the chambers of heart, and needle required is 18 to 21 gauge and 4 to 6 inch long. Used in emergency condition like cardiac arrest, in which drugs have to reach myocardium immediately. Intracisternal, directly into the cisternal space surrounding the space of the brain, used when intracranial pressures are elevated and risk of herniation of brain exists and if fluid is removed from Langer sac. And this is used for, can be used for diagnostic purpose also. Intra-abdominal or intraperitoneal, injection or infusion given directly into peritoneal cavity via needle or indwelling catheter directly into an abdominal organs like liver, kidney, bladder. Needle required is 16 to 18 gauge. Next, secondary route is for parenteral administration is intralesional, directly into or around the lesion, usually located in or on the skin or soft tissues to achieve therapeutic effect. Needle required is 24 to 26 gauge. Small volume less than 1 ml can be injected. Dermatologists commonly use this route to treat psoriasis, then various infections like lichen simplex, sarcoid, lichen plans, hypertrophics, herpes zoster, cystic or nodular acne with local steroid. Intraocular, in anterior chamber, vitreous cavity of eye around the posterior segment of the glow and subconjunctival, that is beneath the conjunctiva, so that drug diffuse through the limbus and sclera into the eye. Needle required for anterior chamber is 25 gauge or smaller. For vitreous body, it is 25 gauge. For retrobulbar space, it is 1:2 inch long, 25 gauge. 1 or 2 inch long, 25 gauge. Then subconjunctival injection do not exceed 0.5 ml, mainly used to treat cortical abscesses. Intrapleural, injection into pleural cavity, needle required is 13 to 18 gauge. Infections or malignancies involving pleural cavity, particularly if diseases process is impairing respiratory function, are treated by this route. Enzymes such as streptokinase, streptodornase injected to liquefy thick empyema, which may not be removed by aspiration or reabsorbed naturally. If such empyema are not treated, may result in fibrosis, addition, thickening of flora and restriction of breathing. Carcinomatous spread or mesothelioma involving pleura are treated by local intrapleural injection of anti-tumor or sclerosing agents. Intrathecal or intraspinal, also referred as subarachnoid, intracisternal, epidural, peridural injection. Infusion and injection are directly into the lumbar sac located at the caudal end of the spinal cord or into the subarachnoid space. These injections are made by inserting needle through the vertebral interspinous spaces into spinal fluid, usually by lumbar puncture. Less than 20 ml solution can be injected and specific gravity of the injection should be adjusted when it is administered through intrathecal or intraspinal route. This route mainly used for diagnostic purpose and sometimes also utilized for treating the infections and tumors of subarachnoid space along the cord, used for infectious type of meningitis or to produce spinal anesthesia or for introduction of radiopaque contrast media into subarachnoid space to visualize spinal cord myelography. Needle required is 20 to 22 gauge and 3 to 5-inch long needle. Intrauterine infusion or injection via needle inserted percutaneously into the pregnant uterus. Injection of infusion of 20% saline, prostaglandin E or urea into pregnant uterus to induce labor in medical abortions or to deliver stillborn fetus, sometimes used to inject contrast material for genographic studies to study peritoneal potential congenital anomalies. Needle required is 18 to 20 gauge and 3 to 5 inches long. Intraventricular, lateral ventricles of the brain. This route is employed to treat infections such as bacterial or fungal meningitis. Amphotericin B is mainly administered in such cases. Ventriolitis or malignancies such as leukemic infiltrates, methotrexate of meninges or carcinomatosis involving the membranes and cerebrospinal fluid surrounding the CNS. Radiopaque radiolabel or dyes injected into intraventricular space to study anatomy or flow of CSF. Needle required is 3 to 5-inch long and 18 gauge. Intramedullary injection directly into the bone marrow. Rapidity or availability is comparable with intravenous injection. Whole blood, normal saline or glucose can also be injected. Now let us discuss the advantages of injectables. Till this stage we discuss what are parenterals, what are the different types of parenteral preparations, when the parenteral preparations are administered, then different routes of parenteral product administration, that is primary routes as well as secondary routes. And now see advantages of injectables. Useful when degradation occurs in GI tract. Example, insulin, it get degraded into the GI tract. So in such cases, such drugs should be administered parenterally to avoid the gastrointestinal degradation of the drug. Useful when patient is unconscious, unable to swallow, nauseous, feeling nauseous or uncooperative. So at that time, the drug therapy can be continued with the parenteral administration. Rapid action specially useful in cardiac arrest, asthma or shock. So when there is emergency, so parenteral route of administration is most preferable. Greater predictability and reproducibility of drug absorption. So great absolute bio availability can be achieved. 100% bio availability can be achieved through the parenteral administration of the drug. Patient returns to physician for further doses. Therefore, no overdosing or underdosing is possible. So only the physician is there who is administering the drug through these different routes. So no overdosing or underdosing chances are very less or none. Also useful for local effect when desired, for example, in dentistry for local anesthesia. Prolonged drug action is also possible. Long-acting steroids can be administered in the form of depot, using oil or waxes as vehicle. Useful for immediate treatment of serious disturbances of fluid and electrolyte balance. So in some cases like diarrhea, there is need to maintain the electrolyte balance, and also to treat the dehydration. So large volume parenterals can be administered through parenteral route in the immediate treatment. When fluid cannot be taken by mouth, total nutritional requirements can be supplied by parenteral route. So nutritional supplements can be administered preferably and advantageously through the parenteral route only. New drugs in preliminary stages of clinical trial are prepared in parenteral dosage form, because with this dosage form it is possible to control the dose more precisely, as if the drug is administered through oral route or any other route like transdermal, topical, or rectal. So in such cases, there are chances of bioavailability problems due to enzymatic degradation or gastrointestinal degradation of the drug. Such is not the case with parenteral dosage form. Whatever the drug is administered is completely available in especially when used with the intravenous route or other routes. So enzymatic degradation will not be the case. Disadvantages: should be administered by trained persons. So self-medication is not possible, which is with the tablet or capsule or some oral liquid dosage forms can be administered by the patient himself. Here there is need of trained and skillful person for the administration of parenteral preparations. Administration requires more time, requires strict adherence to aseptic procedure during manufacturing and administration. So the formulation should be sterile one, pyrogen free, and should be prepared in the aseptic condition. Otherwise, it will be harmful to the patient. Pain on injection is unavoided. So administration is painful. Once administered, it is difficult to reverse the physiological effect, which may possible in other therapies. More expensive because stringent manufacturing and packaging requirements. There may be complications of septicemia, fungal infection, or intravenous admixture incompatibility, etc. Contamination of particular matter in injection is hazardous. Characteristics of parenteral dosage forms. Parenteral products are unique from any other type of pharmaceutical dosage form for the following reasons: that all products must be sterile, all products must be free from pyrogenic contamination, injectable solutions must be free from visible particulate matter. This includes reconstituted sterile powders. Products should be isotonic, although strictness of isotonicity depends on the route of administration. Products administered into the cerebrospinal fluid must be isotonic. Ophthalmic products should also be isotonic, though these are not parenteral products. Products to be administered by bolus injection by routes other than intravenous should be isotonic or at least very close to isotonicity. IV infusion must be isotonic. Products must be compatible, if applicable, with intravenous diluents, delivery systems, and other drug products co-administered. All products must be stable, not only chemically and physically like all other dosage form, but also stable microbiologically. This should be sterile one, free from pyrogens as well as any particulate matter, and this sterility, uh, free from pyrogenicity and free from particulate matter contamination, should be maintained throughout the shelf life of the product. Components or additives of parenteral products: active ingredient, formulation additives, vehicles, and primary container and closure. Establishing specifications to ensure the quality of each of these components of an injection is essential. Solvents and vehicles. Water is most widely used solvent. This water is classified as water for injection, sterile water for injection, bacteriostatic water for injection. Sodium, other than water, other vehicles are also used, or solvents are used, like sodium chloride injection, bacteriostatic sodium chloride injection. Then non-aqueous solvents are also there. Fixed vegetable oils and alcohols are there, which are widely used as solvents and vehicles. Some injections in oil, dimercaprol. So this is the injection in peanut oil. Vehicle use is peanut oil. It is antidote to arsenic, gold, or mercury poisoning. Then estradiol cypionate and estradiol valerate. So different oils are there. Cottonseed sesame or castor oil. Both are having estrogen category. Then flufenazine decanoate and flufenazine enanthate. These are used for antipsychotic category, and these are used in the sesame oil. These are prepared in the sesame oil, used as a vehicle. Then other injections are there, mainly for hormonal therapy, depot therapy, castor, sesame or peanut, cottonseed oil, different oils are used as a vehicle. Added substances in that, the first is preservatives. So agents containing mercury in concentration not more than 0.01%. Then cationic surfactants are also used as preservative. Alcohols up to 2%, phenols up to 0.5%. Antioxidants, so different types of antioxidants like water soluble antioxidants, sulfurous acid salts, ascorbic acid isomers, thiol derivatives. These are water soluble antioxidants, whereas oil soluble antioxidants are propyl gallate, butylated hydroxyanisole, ascorbyl palmitate, and tocopherol. Secondary packaging is relevant more to marketing considerations, although some products might rely on secondary packaging for stability considered, such as added protection from light exposure for light sensitive drugs and antimicrobial preservatives. In primary packaging, mainly the containers are there, such as ampoules or different plastic containers, or plastic bags are there in which the parenteral formulations are packed. Significance of tonicity adjustment. Tonicity is an important factor in the formulation of products intended for applications to sensitive mucous membranes of organs like eye, ear, and nose. Therefore, any formulation that comes in contact with sensitive mucous membrane should not result in tissue irritation and pain. As these preparations are administered into the various organs or body cavities or membranes, mucous membranes. So this should be pain-free or should not cause any irritation. So one of the physicochemical means by which a formulation may result in pain and tissue irritation is caused by the non-physiological concentration of dissolved solute coming in contact with sensitive tissue. So this is the one of the physicochemical reason is that the formulation, if not available in the physiological concentrations or conditions, then it may cause pain or tissue irritation. If a small quantity of blood defibrinated to prevent clotting is mixed with 0.9% weight by volume of NaCl, the red blood cells remain intact and retain their normal size and shape. The NaCl solution in this case is considered to be isotonic and has essentially same salt concentration as that of the red blood cells. In contrast, if blood is mixed with 1.8% weight by volume NaCl solution, erythrocytes shrink and become wrinkled and crinated as if the cell content has been sucked out. Hence, the solution is considered hypertonic with respect to RBC contents. So, we remember when hypertonic solutions are administered, RBCs, red blood cell shrinkage takes place. It is because of the red blood cell contains a lower salt concentration than 1.8% weight by volume salt solution. The opposite phenomena occurs if blood is mixed with 0.45% weight by volume NaCl solution. So water from the surrounding salt solution enters the erythrocytes, causing them to swell and finally burst with liberation of hemoglobin. So the 0.45% weight by volume salt solution is considered hypotonic, and the phenomenon is known as hemolysis. The crenation and hemolysis of erythrocytes in hypertonic and hypotonic solution, salt solution respectively, can be explained by movement of water across the cell membrane due to the characteristic phenomenon like osmosis. An isotonic solution is an aqueous solution that generates the same tone or osmotic pressure as the body fluids across biological membranes and thus prevent water flow in either direction and hence non-irritating when injected, instilled, perfused or brought into contact with sensitive mucous membranes. So if the isotonicity or osmotic pressure of the formulation and the body fluids or biological membranes is same, body fluids across biological membranes is same, then there will be no irritation or pain. When a solution is hypertonic or hypotonic, osmotic water flow occurs and tone of the membrane is affected. Hence, there is need that formulator should adjust the tone or tonicity of the solution to be isotonic with physiological fluids. British Pharmacopoeia 2001 states that aqueous solutions for large volume infusion fluids together with aqueous fluids for subcutaneous, intradermal and intramuscular administration should be made isotonic. Intrathecal injections must be isotonic to avoid serious changes in the osmotic pressure of the cerebrospinal fluids. Aqueous hypotonic solutions are made isotonic by addition of the sodium chloride, glucose or sometimes mannitol. The glucose and mannitol are incompatible with some drugs, and if the solution is hypertonic, it is made isotonic by dilution. So some components of injection such as buffer and antioxidants affect the tonicity. Other components such as preservative which are present in low concentration have little effect on tonicity. So isotonicity can be adjusted by sodium chloride equivalent method or by freezing point depression method. Thank you.